call the November Planning and Zoning Board meeting to order. The first thing to do this evening, as we do before all meetings within the city, is to go through our vision and mission statement, and I will read those for the audience. Belmont will be a vibrant, multi-generational community that incorporates small town charm and heritage with the entrepreneurial spirit. And our mission statement is the City of Belmont provides visionary leadership and high-quality city services to create a community of choice for our residents, visitors, and employees. And under that, we have several core values. One is we lead with honesty, vision, responsibility, and we maintain balance and open-mindedness in executing the duties. The first item this evening will be to set the agenda. Is there a motion to do so?
So moved.
Moved by Dan, second by Matt. Any discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, like sign. The next item is to swear in a new board member and to re-swear or reaffirm two appointees.
Sure.
Okay.
Okay, so just repeat after me. I state your name.
I, Cynthia Hagler,
Do solemnly swear
do solemnly swear
that I will support and maintain
that I will support and maintain
the Constitution and laws
the Constitution and laws
of the United States
of the United States
and the Constitution and laws
and the Constitution and laws
of North Carolina,
of North Carolina,
not inconsistent therewith,
not inconsistent therewith,
and that I will faithfully discharge my duties
and that I will faithfully discharge my duties
as a Planning and Zoning Board member.
as a Planning and Zoning Board member.
So help me God.
So help me God. Thank you.
And then
Thank you.
just do that and sign that and just return it to me.
Perfect. Thank you.
Okay. Who's up?
The last time we did it together.
Oh, that's great.
But I got a prenup this year.
So do you guys hold hands or?
No, it's kind of like what we did. So-
Yeah. Okay. I state your names.
I, Dan Hartley,
Do solemnly swear
do solemnly swear
that I will support and maintain
that I will support and maintain
the Constitution and laws
the Constitution and laws
of the United States
of the United States
and the Constitution and laws
and the Constitution and laws
of North Carolina,
of North Carolina,
not inconsistent therewith,
not inconsistent therewith,
and that I will faithfully discharge
and I will faithfully discharge
my duties as a Planning and Zoning Board member.
my duties as a planning and boarding member.
So help me God.
So help me God.
There we go.
Thank you.
Thank you and congratulations. Welcome to another 3-year term. Cynthia, I would like to give you the opportunity, if you wish, to
Sure.
tell us a little bit about yourself and why you want to serve.
Okay, my name is Cynthia Hagler. I own Southern Home Group Realty, and I'm a partner in Southern Home Group Builders and Roho Builders here in Belmont. So we're an investment firm, and we just started building our first houses. So I've been involved with a bunch of projects around here lately, and in Charlotte and Mount Holly. So I've really been enjoying it.
Thank you and welcome. So the next item is the election of chair and vice chair of the board. And so I'm not exactly sure how we go about this process. I missed it last time.
That's why you were
That's
voting.
that's why I got elected chair, right?
So you just open the floor up to a nomination for chair, and we go through that.
And then we'll go through the vice chair.
I
So-
should nominate Walter for chair.
I cannot serve this is my second term.
Yeah, he can't.
Oh, really?
So it is, before we get started, it is for 1 year, but you can be reappointed for an additional year, but you can't serve more than 2 consecutive terms. So I do open the floor up for nominations for chair.
Nominated that part. I'll second that.
Yep.
Okay, so there's a motion on the floor from Norman and a second by Jerry to second Matt Hart.
So who's not here today?
You made it. I didn't think he was going to get back from Raleigh, but you hurried to get here, didn't you?
I didn't.
It sounded like you wanted it.
All right, yeah. So there's a motion on the floor. Is there any discussion?
Do you want it?
I will do as best as I can to follow in the footsteps of our fearless leader.
Any other discussion? All in favor of Matt Hart, please say aye. Aye. Opposed, like sign. Welcome, Chair. And I'll take care of this final business and I'll turn it over to Matt. And so the election of vice chair. So now I open that nomination up from the floor for a vice chair, which would serve in the absence of the chair.
Who was our vice chair before?
Allison.
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 I mean, if someone wants to nominate me, I'll do it.
I nominate Nick.
I'll second that.
So the nomination by Matt. Is there any discussion? All in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed, like sign. Welcome. Nick, you're the vice chair.
Sweet.
So I will hand this over to, you want to come sit here?
No, I'll stay.
It's a better view over there.
It is good view.
All right. Thank you, Walter, for all your help over the past and leadership over the past couple of years.
Thank you.
I know you got elected for a year, and I think it continued on a little bit with the pandemic without any questions. So thank you for your leadership.
Thank you. Enjoyed it.
And thank you for your leadership on the board. When is the last meeting for Walter?
I don't have the membership roster.
I got it on my calendar. It's September. It's September.
Oh, it's
of,
next year.
20, no, it's 23, I think.
Oh, okay.
Oh, okay.
Okay.
23.
You just can't serve. I see what you're
Can't-
saying. So you could serve as chair again, just not consecutively.
Not consecutive. Yeah.
Keep that in mind, board, as we look to next year.
There's a lot of tough stuff coming up here.
Hey, you did sound pretty disappointed about not getting to do it again.
So moving on with the agenda, the adoption of minutes from our last Planning and Zoning Board meeting, October 21st. Hope everyone had a chance to review those. I'd take a motion to approve those as presented.
Motion to approve is presented.
Made by Dan, second by Norman. Any discussion? All in favor of adoption of the minutes, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, like sign. Minutes are approved. Public items, there are none this month, but we do need to talk about the meeting schedule for 2022. That was also provided in the packet of information. Are there any key dates that you're aware of that you may have conflict with?
April 21st is spring break for the school here.
That's a very good point.
So what we can do is bring that back, evaluate it, and maybe have it a week earlier. That's when the Board of Adjustment typically meets, but they don't always meet every month. So it might be an easy switch. So we will look at that and bring that back.
Good
Unless
catch.
everyone's confirmed now that they're available that day.
I can't commit. Not with spring break trips and things that might come up. But
And I think the school calendar actually gets out the Thursday before. So if it's possible, it might be better to do it the Thursday after. I don't know if that's possible.
oh, good. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
28th.
So when city council meet, would that be wouldn't be an issue?
So we're good on Thursday. So I think that date will work. April 28th. Is everybody good with that date? We can just change it now and move forward with adoption if everyone's okay with that date.
28th.
That's way too far out for me.
Really?
That's a good day for me.
Okay. So take a motion to adopt the Planning and Zoning Board meeting schedule for 2022 with the change from April 21st to April 28th.
Motion to adopt.
Second.
Made by Cynthia, seconded by Dan. Any further discussion? All in favor say aye.
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 Opposed, like sign. Motion carries. The next item on the agenda, December meeting date change.
So we just wanted to talk to you about the upcoming December meeting. We do have 2 items that will be on the agenda. One is a text amendment. The other item is receive information on the annual report out for the comprehensive land use plan implementation. So the regular date is December 16th. The Board of Adjustment is not meeting, so we wanted to see if the board would like to go ahead, since the holidays are coming up, go ahead and meet on the 9th, if that works for you. I mean, we can keep it at the 16th, but with holidays and such, we would just have the opportunity to move it up to the 9th.
Any objection?
Works for me.
Either date works for me.
Okay, so then, if you're okay with that, we'll need a motion to go ahead and to officially move the next planning board date. Now, we also want to throw out, we have 2 items, there's text amendment, the other is receive information on the comprehensive land use plan update. It's not a project, we want to see, are you open to having it virtually, or you prefer just to meet in person?
Any objection to meeting in person?
Then we'll just keep as is. That's fine. That's fine. So we would just need a motion to change the date.
I'll motion to change the December date to December meeting date to December 9th.
Motion made by Jerry,
I'll second.
second by Nick.
Okay.
Any discussion? All in favor say aye.
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 Opposed, like sign. Great. Other business on the agenda. Take it away, Shelley.
Absolutely. So the whole staff's here to update you on the various projects we have in the pipeline. I know we gave you our first update at the last month's meeting. So these are new projects or changes in projects that are ongoing. So we officially got the submittal for a sketch plan for what we're calling the Crescent Project. It consists of just under 15 acres. There's already been a lot of discussion about this one and concern about this one when the concept sort of got out there and people were panicking about Frady Field. So it includes Frady Field and 5 parcels that are owned by Crescent on the south side of East Catawba. It spans from 4th Street to the west. That's next to the Antique Mall, all the way to Tucker. That is on the east side. So this will have to go through a conditional rezoning. There are about 3 or 4 different zoning classifications on these properties. So we know that it will go through a conditional rezoning because it is a multifamily proposal, a mixed use proposal. We're looking at the zoning designation of downtown district that allows for mixed use. Again, it's just under 15 acres. It consists of 63 multifamily townhomes. So we have to designate them as multifamily because they will be for lease. They are not individual lot townhomes that are for sale. So there are 63 multifamily townhomes, 230 apartment units, 4 live-work units. There's a commercial component of about 24,000 square feet that's proposed. The first building on adjacent to 4th Street in Catawba on the ground floor, with the resulting of a successful conditional zoning application. They are offering to dedicate Frady Field to the city. The project will need some street closures and special attention related to the street design, and I'll show you the design. So there is the overall site plan. This project is on our website as well. There is a project page for this. As you can see, no development is proposed on Frady Field. The mixed use, the townhomes, and the multifamily buildings along East Catawba are proposed at 3-story buildings. The 2 apartment buildings proposed across from Gant Park are proposed as 4 stories. We had a big discussion about that, and staff's position, we told them that we would go in and support the 4-story just because they moved development off of Frady Field. So we look at it as like a development transfer. So again, this will have 2 community meetings, go to the planning board and council ultimately. So here's a sort of a flow chart of the process. Again, we are on the very early stage of sketch plan. Staff has reviewed this and sent some comments to them that we need more information, some redesign and details. Once that's resubmitted and the plan's a little closer, we will let them go out to the first community meeting. We'll have a scoping meeting for a traffic study. A TIA is required for this project. Then they will be seeking ultimately a sketch plan approval or disapproval, which would move them into their formal submission of a zoning application that would require schematic plans, re-review, go out again once the TIA is complete. It would go out to a second community meeting ultimately before it comes back to the planning board for recommendation and to city council. So if you have some spare time and want to look at the plans online and send us any early comments or concerns about it, please do while we're in this very early stage, that we can provide feedback to them early as we move forward.
They have a target to get to city council.
No, it's still up in the air. It will probably be about a year out at least. You know, they may have a target date, but there's a project of this size. I mean, we've met with them maybe 3 times already before they formally submitted. So this is one of those projects that will probably take about a year to get through.
It's obviously good news on the Frady Field component.
Mm-hmm.
Do you know if that dedication had anything to do with some of the early social media posts or things like that?
Yes, I think that it did. So the original plan that we saw had development on it, gateways and such, and we're like, whoa, time out, let's take a look at this. And we basically came down and said it was a non-starter. So then they cut it back and they had some townhomes there, but still some park. And we're just like, no, everything they were hearing from the community, council members saw a concept plan and told them the same thing. It's like that's a non-starter. So eventually we got this plan, was the formal submittal of the project, which is, we explained the community, the community there's a lot of value for Frady Field, Crescent Park to the community, and that's the last thing we want to see develop. Now, currently it's zoned neighborhood center commercial, so it already has zoning that could accommodate development on it. So it was a real discussion early on to try to come up with something that would meet some desires of the community as well as help them meet their target of what they're trying to do. So
I honestly think that's a win-win. And I'd like to see us communicate that
Exactly.
through the city somehow, because the developer could, as you said, could have put something there, right? They didn't have to.
Right,
They might not get what they want to get, which I think that's part of this whole.
right. We've had some
Conditional.
really heavy discussions with them in the past.
Y'all can be heavy-handed,
Yeah,
right?
and, you have to be, we try to explain, though they may say that's good planning design to develop that site and create a gateway if the community, there's value in that park and history of that park in East Belmont, so.
Just to get the goodwill out, I think would help. One question, it's not a question about that design. Everything seems to be for lease now, right? We don't see, and maybe that's just the market trends changing, and everybody here knows more than I do about that. But why do we see that? Why is that just the concept now?
Well, I think Cynthia can help with
Yeah.
that. There's a lot of investment companies out there
Right.
that have the deep pockets right now, I believe, to make these purchases. So-
Well, there's very little rental property left in Charlotte right now.
Mhm.
A lot of our available rental is turning into short-term rental, Airbnb rentals. So, I mean, rental, like long-term rental in Charlotte is extremely expensive, so it's naturally going to come out this way. But I have a lot of long-term rentals in Gastonia, and they've tripled in price in 3 years for rent, the market rent
So
there.
long-term would be a year or more, or
Yeah, long-term's 12 months or longer,
Okay.
short-term's 30 days or shorter.
Mhm.
So for an investor, because I do a lot of rentals, you get cash flow and appreciation. So eventually they could sell them at a appreciated rate. But in the meantime, our long-term rent rates are really, really high.
Mhm.
I think $2,000 to $3,000 really is what it takes to rent things right now. So
Good, thanks.
So Carolina Riverside South Fork Parkway, this is tied to the Del Webb development. So I'm just sharing this. This is their initial construction plans is for the roadway only. Again, as you can recall, they're going to build a 4-lane divided roadway that will serve the Del Webb community and also provide the opportunity for development to occur to the south to connect up to this roadway to help create a better roadway network that would parallel South Fork Road. We are expecting a resubmittal through discussions with the MPO and NCDOT. They want a higher design on this roadway. We've had long discussions over the past couple weeks with NCDOT. This will probably end up being a city-maintained road because NCDOT wanted a design speed of 50 miles per hour. And yes, so we want a roadway, a city connector for our community and not a highway through it. So we're looking at a design speed of maybe 45 and a posted speed of 35 on this is what the goal is. And so this item will be going to City Council as far as discuss the city accepting this road in our own maintenance system. So we're not looking to funnel high-speed traffic through our community, and doesn't really fit the vision for us over there. So that is that
I
project.
got a question on that.
Yes, sir.
The East Way connection up there,
Yeah.
is that dead? Or do
So
we know?
at this point in time, it is. They did explore it. However, we have had developers speak to us about the southern portion of, we used to call it the Pitcher property, but the South Fork properties, there was a total of 1,100 acres. Del Webb took about 460. There's still a remaining 600 or so just left. And we have told them that they will have to, what we're looking for is if they move forward, they can expect to continue building the 4-lane divided road through their site and making the connections like Tucker and the adjacent roads, Gaither and so forth. And that getting that connection up to Eastwood is imperative. So we're hoping that you can help facilitate that.
But we
So-
still hadn't got the right of way
No, we
issues
still haven't.
resolved.
Yeah, there's talks with the council, our council, the council at Cramerton, and they just have not been able to get that. But this is the cross section that shows 4 lanes, landscape in the middle, landscaping trees on the side. And the one change that has occurred since the project was originally approved is there was an on-street bike lane. And we have changed that to a multi-use path for safety. Even at 35 miles per hour, any collisions between cyclists and vehicles going 35 miles per hour is not a good thing. Yes.
With the change in the design speed, this is no longer being looked at as that large Parkway project that was going to be the connector all the way across.
Probably
the-
not, no. It doesn't mean the connector is still a project, but we don't know if they'll be able to feed into this and carry the traffic they're anticipating.
Well,
I just
when-
want to clarify, you're saying across the river, are you talking about the top of crossing?
Crossing, yeah.
The thing of it is when it was presented to us with the Del Webb community, there was a discussion that this was part of that Parkway.
Well, no, the Catawba Crossing goes through the southern, and the Parkway connects into the Catawba
But
Crossing.
it's not the crossing.
It's not the crossing. The crossing continues over to South New Hope, so it continues in that.
This
Cross
goes
the
up to
rivers.
Mount Holly.
Yeah,
Yes,
this
this
is
is
part of
part of
that.
the Belmont Mount Holly Loop,
Yeah.
but it did connect into. Mhm. Okay, next is.
Hello. So we have received a sketch plan application for Culver's, the fast food restaurant. I think they're famous for their cheese, curds, and custard. So they're proposing this restaurant across the street from Home 2 Suites, Chick-fil-A, and Pizza Hut on those 5 parcels. So just kind of a little bit of an overview for this. The site's about 2.2 acres and it's zoned highway commercial. Right now, the proposed building is about 4,400 square feet. For the restaurant, Kimley Horn is the applicant, and like I said, right now, it's just in the sketch plan phase. We're still trying to determine 2 major factors. This project could either go through conditional zoning, and the only area of relief it would need would be the parking in the front. In highway commercial, we don't allow parking in the front of buildings. And as you see, there's parking on all sides of the proposed building, and especially which the front would be considered these 2 because it is on that curve. So there's parking on both areas along Holly. So that would be an area of relief. Or our ordinance says if you were to do parking in the front, you can go through the special use permit process. So that would be skipping over you guys and then going straight to council for approval. So the applicant team right now is just trying to determine which route they want to go. And then also we are trying to determine about the traffic analysis. So that's why I'm here tonight. So I sent this plan over to Brady with Kimley Horn, and he said that this project didn't meet NCDOT's threshold for trips per day, but it does meet the city's both daily trips and peak hour trips, AM and PM. So Shelley and I were kind of talking, we were like, does this really need a full-blown TIA? That's kind of excessive for just one fast food restaurant in the highway commercial district. So we kind of brainstormed with Brady about whether or not a technical memorandum would be sufficient enough. So that's why I'm looking to you guys to see how y'all feel about this recommendation. So just a few supporting factors about the technical memorandum. It's highway commercial, so this district clearly is made for serving high traffic areas and a lot of people, lots of cars, things like that, especially along the I-85 interstate and the 74 Wilkinson, however you want to call it. So NCDOT would probably not require any kind of study just because it didn't trigger their threshold. I think Brady said if any improvements needed to be made, they would just kind of be kept in the loop. It wouldn't be really heavily involved with NCDOT. There are also some other improvements planned at nearby locations. I think this came from the TIA with the Claremont Hospital, so that would be the I-85 and Park Street interchange, there's some planned improvements there. And then the 74 and Park Street intersection already has some planned improvements. So that's another reason we thought that maybe just a tech memo would be okay.
I have a
Another-
question though.
Yeah.
So Kimley Horn is the applicant?
So they have different divisions. So they have like an engineering project management type division, and then they're the engineering of this
I just
project,
wonder if
and then
that's some conflict, even though they got different divisions.
I would.
You know, I don't,
Hey,
I
based
don't
on
wouldn't
that
think
contract,
so.
Culver,
It's all the same board of directors.
it's gotta be.
There's, it's got to be a conflict.
Or doesn't look good in my mind.
I guess it would depend on their contract with us, right?
So we have in the past processed applications where the planning division of Kimley Horn took the project through, although it needed a TIA, but this other division and our attorney, the city attorney, and Adrian determined they didn't think it was a conflict of interest. So they did check. So we sort of made that assumption again. But again, the applicant, so the applicant in this case, Kimley Horn's representing the true property
Builder.
owner, which is Belmont Abbey, as well as the Culver's team. So if we needed to modify the application to say, well, they're still doing the plans as a contractor and have the applicant change, I mean, we can do that. So there really isn't a conflict of interest. So the property owner or the business owner could go through as the applicant.
could look better.
I think,
Okay, got it.
Can you pull the site plan up though, because I'm concerned about the traffic, the lack of a TIA. Because, you know, when you drive through there, that's right into the area where the 2-lane narrows down to 1 lane.
Mhm.
And if you've been through there in the evening with Saki having a line all the way out into the street and Chick-fil-A backed up for a half a mile.
So, and that's
That's
one.
confusing.
It is, and one of staff's comments was this drive kind of aligns with the entrance drive. So with this curve and the lane decreasing and everything, we recommended them to relocate this drive just because we thought it was problematic. But if we were to do just a tech memo, which that's where everyone decides on the proposed study locations, the proposed driveways on the site would be studied.
yeah, I think this area, even though it's highway commercial, there's some, I mean, Hawley, right, is a one-way in, one-way out, technically. Yeah. And then, right, this intersection's tough too, right? So it needs to be studied.
Right, and
Yeah,
But
that's a cluster.
I'm not so too concerned about it, whether it's a memorandum or a true TIA, but driveways and then those key intersections get congested. And
And that's why we were saying if we do go this route, instead of just having them do everything within a mile radius, we could select, and as y'all see now, select certain intersections for study and then the driveways as well on site.
that would sound good to us, right? I mean, there's no reason to go to, you know, the intersection of Lowe's and Wilkinson, right?
Right there. It's
Right.
out
Yeah.
outside.
Because you got Chick-fil-A and Pizza Hut and Saki and all
That
that.
turn lane really.
Yeah, that's
no
a-
turn lane. It's kind of five.
Yeah.
It's
a popular restaurant.
It's the best.
So is there not a plan to extend Holly to 4 lanes the whole way to the traffic light?
Is there, is there a plan to extend Holly to lane all the way to the Park Street intersection?
Extend the 4 lanes.
4 lane, sorry.
So I guess when that was built, were they just tying into existing then, or?
As of right now, but I mean, we would have them study that in this tech.
I would add Hawley and Browntown Road to that
Okay.
to understand that one way in, one way out at
Right.
Hawley.
Right
Yep,
here.
uh-huh.
Okay.
If that's suitable to the applicant. I mean,
So that would be just our next steps. I wanted to get kind of check y'all's temperature on this before we went forward back to the applicant, but we would just next steps is be scheduling a scoping meeting to decide on these
You'd think the Abbey wants to get that figured out too, because they got more
coming.
coming, right?
And that's, I mean, it's on their property, so they're obviously aware of what's going on.
Right.
And they'll be.
Whoever asked about the driveway location was going to be mine, so you stole my thunder.
Oh, staff beat you to it.
It's a good catch. I mean, there's a lot. The Saki's got one, Pizza Hut's got one. I think it needs to align with something, right? But I don't think Holly's the right location.
Yeah, I think, we recommended them just kind of moving it. farther
Yeah, I don't think it goes down as far as Saki. I think it needs to be Pizza Hut.
That's the driveway to Pizza Hut.
Yeah.
My recommendation would be a right out only. You have two-way traffic in that curve, and that's just wrong.
Oh, that's a good point.
Not good.
Or that, that's a sight distance nightmare right there, trying to make that turn, but even if you're going right.
You could do
No, just right there.
You could do a
You
right in.
gotta get them in somehow.
Right in, right. Could you do a right in, right out, or just a right out?
I do it right out.
I think even a right out though, you're looking at, I don't think you have a sight distance.
The whole thing is just not good.
Well, what we can do is we've given them our initial comments. We can bring back the revised plan and see where they shifted the driveway just to keep you in the loop and get more feedback as the project moves through the process. The main purpose today was like Shelley's project was, again, to take your temperature. There'll still be traffic analysis, we're just saying not the full blown TIA, every intersection within a mile of the site. We're going to strategically identify them to make sure that we're addressing congestion points around that business at that location.
So everyone seems okay with that.
Mm-hmm.
Awesome, thank you. Next. Right, we want to give you a quick permitting update. All right, so the permits issued from August 1st to November 15th. We had 66 single-family residential, 21 accessory structures made up of pools, sheds, garages, etc. We had non-residential renovations and additions of 15. And we wanted to say we think these statistics show growth in the new single-family homes and investment in properties, both residential and non-residential, in the community. And here's our statistics about subdivision completion. We have Amberley at 43% completed, Belmont Town Square at 67%. Belmont Crossing has just closed out their COs in the area, but they are 100% built out, but they're still working with them to finish up open space and landscape requirements in that neighborhood. Overlake, 50%. South Shore Phase 1 and 2 is at 36%. Reflection Point is also at 36%. Tower Crest is fully under construction. And then Catawba Creek, the Morris, and River Mist is in the grading phases. We expect them to be looking for permits in the future. And Del Webb is still coming.
All right, so my update here tonight is to let you know, as a reminder, we were awarded a grant by NCDOT to help update our pedestrian plan. So we're excited about that. We have executed the contract now, so that is a great first step. And we are now identifying steering committee members to help us through this process. And so be thinking about that. If I have any volunteers, that would be great. The commitment that's being requested of those steering committee members. We're expecting about 4 in-person meetings and then obviously some time as well to help us review any of the documents or research done by the consultant team and provide your feedback. So The planning board as a whole will certainly also have the opportunity to be a part of this whole effort. But we are trying to organize a steering committee of diverse members from across the community to help guide the team through the process. So if you have any interest, you want to volunteer now, great. Or if you want to come up to me later and let me know, that would be appreciated as well. Our vision is to start a kickoff meeting with the steering committee in January and to work with the consultant team for approximately a year in hopes of wrapping up around November or December of 2022, and then have a final presentation and adoption. One of the things that we were thinking is that as things get finalized, the consultant's scope within CDOT, writing the scope, is to present it one time to City Council. So we've asked them to amend that so that we can have a joint meeting with both the Planning Board and City Council to get you guys' feedback before everything is officially adopted. Would be our preference to have everybody around the same table for that discussion. So recap on what we anticipate being the deliverables as part of that project. It will build on our existing already adopted plan, but update that plan with some new content. The consultant selected is Alta. They're the ones that produced our original plan as well as our bike plan for us, so they're very familiar with Belmont. In there will also be an executive summary. Our goal is to try to include that as one of the rolling updates to the comprehensive land use plan to enhance our transportation section. And part of the scope is also to create a GIS inventory map of our existing pedestrian facilities to help us better evaluate opportunities for improvements in the future. And Peyton is working on getting GIS training and everything to get GIS in-house for us. So we're excited about having this plan be able to help us with that update and integrate into our system. So before I move on, does anybody have any questions about the pedestrian plan update or would like to volunteer for my steering committee?
I mean, I'm happy to be voluntold.
Voluntold. All right. All right. All right. We'll write down Nick, and if anybody else.
I feel like I've complained about that enough, so.
Perfect.
It's your obligation.
I'll volunteer.
Awesome. Perfect. Thank you, guys. And the next update I wanted to give you are just on trails and greenways. We have two major ones I wanted to touch base on tonight. So first is, I know we've all heard that ESP has been working on preparing the construction documents for the Abbey Creek Greenway. They just wrapped up this video. I warn you, it's about 4.5 minutes. I don't know how to fast forward, but I'm just going to go ahead and play it so you guys can see a fly through of what's envisioned. Oh. I was gonna play it if I know how. Where? See if it'll go. No? Maybe I'm not. All right, we'll come back to that at the end. If you want to see it, let me know. On that one, we did receive a grant early on for design from the Carolina Thread Trail. An update, we just recently were awarded a $10,000 grant from the Gaston Community Foundation from their unrestricted community grant funds. And we are anxiously awaiting a decision about a land acquisition grant we've applied for to help with this project as well from Carolina Thread Trail. So we're excited to get the community's backing and support as we continue to move forward. The next steps for us on this one, we are asking City Council for permission to proceed with right-of-way acquisition for this project. We're far enough along in the design and construction documents to know exactly where those easements are needed now. And so once we can get those in place, we can begin hiring some goats for kudzu clearing, and we are hoping to be able to start construction in the fall of 2022. Rail Trail. So this project, when it was initially conceptualized in 2010, and we have been working through a lot of hurdles and overcoming them. In 2019, we entered into an agreement with NCDOT for CMAQ funding, so congestion mitigation and air quality funding, to help us with right-of-way and utility relocation for that project. Once we got started in that, there was primarily one property along the corridor that we were having some challenges in securing the needed right-of-way. In 2020, we went back to City Council because of those challenges and asked if they would consider supporting a realignment of the rail trail to be more roadside in just in the areas that would be needed to route around that specific property. City Council was supportive of that approach, but when we took it to NCDOT, they did not support that ultimately. So we heard back this year that they wouldn't let us use our CMAQ funding that we had gotten for that realignment route. So with that, we're really looking at what are the next options? How do we move forward with that project? Staff has discussed proposing the option of maybe splitting what we had been considering phase one. You can see on this map, the teal line was the proposed realignment that could avoid some of the red dot area where we were having some issues with property acquisition. But going back to the original alignment with the dashed line, what we were thinking is we could look at splitting this portion into two phases, one to stop at Woodrow, and then 1A to stop at Woodrow, 1B to continue north from Woodrow as a future phase. So what that would allow us to do if we considered breaking this down that way would be to go ahead and proceed with right-of-way for this most southern segment to allow some additional bike and pedestrian connectivity downtown. We would still have to construct it, but would allow us to, continue to move forward and plan for that portion now, while we waited to figure out the question of what to do further north. The con with that approach, though, would be that we'd still have to figure that out. It wouldn't, stop that question about how to maintain the future feasibility of that portion. And ultimately, it would mean that we would still not be able to utilize CMAQ funding. And so we are asking council at their next meeting for further direction on 4 different options. 1, proceeding as originally planned with the CMAQ funding for the entirety of phase 1. 1, still going with the revised alignment that we had proposed, but just tying into some existing street infrastructure and sidewalk infrastructure we already have, getting as far as we can. And then the third one would be go back to the original alignment, but look at some phasing and sort of self-fund that project. And then lastly, just kill it. So that's where we are. I'm sorry?
Go back to the site plan.
Yes. That one?
So there's an issue moving past Parkdale Mills and then past Sacred Heart to the right.
I'm sorry. Can you repeat that one more time?
I'm just trying to orient myself.
Okay.
It's past Parkdale, which there's our right-of-way issues.
So it's behind Circle Drive. The entirety of the rail trail project, what was originally envisioned was a railside greenway that would go all the way up to Belmont Abbey and down towards Glenway along the existing railroad tracks. So where we are here, Woodrow, we have the rec center. This is Woodrow. This is going that way, you get to Rocky Branch. The acquisition challenge is in this area back in here behind Circle Drive. Right.
The question, I don't know too much about the project. Sacred Heart, have they been approached? I mean,
Yes.
Is that the issue?
No.
It's the residences that are on the other side.
Yes.
So have we approached Sacred Heart about potential multi-use path on their property to connect?
Yeah, we actually have an agreement with them. We signed an MOU. So this project has been in the pipeline since 2009. Adrian started this project. So he's been working on it diligently. Seems to be all these issues that come up. But the problem is that Circle Drive, not the Circle Drive residences, the pathway is planned on the far side of the railroad tracks. So it's that property owner that isn't willing to grant easement So you want to talk about the width of the path?
Sure. So sorry about
Before
that.
before you do that real quick though, so this might be a stupid question, but who owns the railroad?
Right.
Do they want it? Like,
So, yeah.
why not
so-
just use the railroad?
So you actually can't. So they will not let you put a greenway on top of the rail itself. They are supportive of it being within the right of way of the rail line, and so they're certainly an
For
integral
what
partner.
purpose do they want the railroad though?
They maintain their rails in perpetuity.
For what?
Yeah,
Can we
Belmont
buy it,
Trolley
like-
is planning to use it, and they're okay with something else being utilized on it, but we aren't allowed to pave over it and flatten out any future potential for those.
But
rail
see,
lines.
that rail goes all the way into Charlotte and Gastonia. I don't know what they're gonna end up doing with that line down, somebody had a line at one time, they were trying to put industry in there. So who knows where that goes, long-term. Goes up through North Belmont, up to all the Cason Street and all
It
that.
seems like it costs a lot of money to maintain.
Oh,
and
yeah.
use it.
My 2 cents is that phase 1A down by the station and going past the new development. Primal, but what's the big development? Chronicle Mill. Right, so to be able to make that connection through the woods down to station rather than going, down Catawba, right? Woodruff.
Woodruff, that's good.
And that'd be nice.
Right. Right. So that's where we are as staff is, what can we do? Rather do something than nothing. And we know there's a lot of activity already there. There's a lot of projects and redevelopment happening. We'd like to be able to do something that provides that connectivity, if not in full as we originally envisioned, but in some capacity. So. This one it's a 10-foot wide asphalt greenway, like I said, proposed ultimately to connect from downtown to Belmont Abbey as envisioned. Phase 2 and phase 3 of that, the hope is that if and when NCDOT moves forward with the projects at the Wilkinson and Main intersection and then the I-85 interchange, that the Greenway path would be incorporated as part of those NCDOT projects. So the focus of phasing has been really on phase 1 until those details are further determined. And then we've hit some obstacles in carrying out the entirety of phase 1. So that's where we are today. I can try. I can try to get the video, but the video still won't have a map.
So the Abbey Creek Greenway has been a greenway that would run between Park Street all the way to Park. And we were able to incorporate a portion of that with the approval of the Morris section, which is 325 multifamily units right there on Wilkinson. There's a lot. So what we're trying to do is move forward with the project where the city's been working on designing the section that connects to the Morris, and our goal is to try to implement the construction of that in its entirety when the Morris is constructing. So by the time they're done, we're done with our portion. We have it's about a mile long.
About a mile and a quarter long.
Of Greenway, so that's the Parkway. And the blue area is the Morris.
The blue area is the Morris. We've, as plans have progressed, this alignment has shifted a little bit. Now coming down where the Greenway would come up slightly further south at McLean and wind itself back up toward the creek. We're working with the Morris to try to get a western trailhead, like parking for 10 to 12 vehicles underneath the Duke easement on their property. And then the Morris team is constructing the Abbey Creek Greenway through their project. And then the city would be constructing it some on the west side and then the remaining portion on the east side is shown. Ultimately connecting into multi-use path both with the NCDOT project at Catawba and Wilkinson at the redo of that intersection and bridge, as well as a multi-use path that would be installed by the rec center once it's constructed. So the vision would be that we'd have multi-use path and greenway connectivity from the rec center site where there's parking up and along the Abbey Creek and all the way toward Park Street. Yes, and there's a glare on this. There we go.
So what's nice about this path is Tiffany's been working really hard with the DSP to ensure that the alignment of the city portion is a good experience. And it has a boardwalk section, and that was one reason it's been shifted. And possibility of connections over to Gaston College, Kendall campus, connection from Adams Bluff. They have a trail that we're trying to make sure connects into this trail as well. So overall, it's I think it'll be a wonderful experience on the Greenway. I wish you could get there.
Last time all I did was
Great
click.
simulation. It's not on the website.
I hadn't uploaded it because I wanted to share it with you guys before I put it on the website.
They're really gonna paint the sewer main and make it look that nice?
Yeah, that's a vision.
It was the nicest looking sewer I've ever seen.
Yeah.
It came in as a picture. It didn't come in as my video. All right. Well, I can send that to you guys. Sorry about that.
around. I was like, oh, no, it's a pipe.
So I think that completes our update.
I did have one, so that the trail up to the Abbey. So what's the word on that intersection up there? I know there's been a lot of surveying, and have y'all heard any more on where that stands? Up there at Bojangles at 74, that intersection.
So that's Main and Wilkinson, right? Yeah.
Yeah, it's been incorporated within the 85YD project, which is the design build. It still has to go out there. The design, my understanding, the design has to be confirmed and it will have to go out to public comment. I believe there will be.
I've just heard
Right.
rumors, that's why I'm asking.
But I think there's still going to maybe.
Michigan right.
Yeah, an RCI or a Michigan lab type of design there, but we haven't seen it.
Great.
All right.
Great.
Thanks, staff, for all your work on this and the updates. We appreciate it. I'll take my first motion to adjourn if there's no other comment.
I'll make that motion.
I'll second.
All right.